And we are live. Hey, how's it going? It is your muscle building coach, Lee Hayward, with another live video Q&A for Friday, November 15th. And hopefully this is coming through loud and clear. As you're popping onto our live stream here today, please let me know if this is coming through loud and clear on your end. I always want to do an audio and mic check and video check to make sure before we get into the Q&A. And the way these video chats work, if you're brand new, I want to welcome you. Always nice to have new people joining in. And I'm going to be hanging out here for the next hour answering questions and topics of discussion that you have related to health and fitness, training, nutrition, supplementation, any specific challenges when it comes to your workouts, building muscle, losing fat, dealing with injuries or aches or pains or mobility issues, things of those natures. Feel free to chime in and type in your questions and topics of discussion into our chat window there. So we are streaming from YouTube as well as the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook page. So wherever you are tuning in from, feel free to type your questions and topics of discussion into our chat window, and I'll do the best that I can to help you out over the course of our video chat today. So we have Lee joining in, coming through loud and clear. Appreciate it. Thank you much. We've got Nick joining in saying, hope you're recovering well. Doing well, yes. For those of you who are wondering, I had a carpal tunnel syndrome surgery last Wednesday. So it's coming along pretty good, I must say. The surgery was a success, and my hand is coming back. I mean, I have full mobility and movement in my fingers and stuff. I can type and all that. But I have a big incision down through the center of my hand there. Going to get the stitches taken out now on Monday, and hopefully that'll just help aid with the whole recovery process now. So I can pretty much do simple stuff. Like I can type on the computer, no trouble at all. I can eat and I can do light things with my hand. I just can't exert any force. Like I can't lift weights or push or pull or place any strain on my hand there because I have an incision right down the center of my hand. So like I wouldn't even be able to do like a push-up or something because it'll just too much pain and pressure to put on my hand. But for just regular stuff, the big thing for me is, can I type on the computer? Because obviously I spend a fair bit of time on the computer. So that was a bit of a concern, but hey, that's not hindering me at all. So things are going quite well. It's getting better day by day. And there's, other than like if I put pressure on it or if I were to try and lift or exert it, there's no pain. Like there's no pain just in normal situations. So for anyone who's considering or looking into carpal tunnel syndrome surgery, getting the release done, I have to say my experience thus far has been very positive. Once the first couple days after the operation was done, I basically had no pain in the hand whatsoever. So it's not a very painful operation, and knock on wood, I haven't had any tingling or numbness or anything like that in my finger. So it has certainly opened up the carpal tunnel, and it's feeling much better. Now all I have to do is wait on getting the strength back into the hand, and of course that's going to take several weeks, probably even a few months before that comes back to full strength, but I'm quite confident it will. I mean, both my parents have had this operation done, and they're fully recovered, back to normal, full mobility in their hands and full strength in their hands with none of that medial nerve tingling in the fingers and thumb. So that's the good thing there. So I'm hoping that I'll experience the same type of recovery and be back to full strength over the next few months. All right, so let's see who else we have joining in. We've got Robert is joining us. Glad to have you tuning in. We have Art joining us. A lot of regulars. Glad to see you're doing better. Excellent. Yeah, definitely. And Art saying, hope you have a complete and speedy recovery. Thank you much, Art. Very much appreciated. We have AJ joining in as well. Welcome to our video chat. We've got Josh joining in. Hey, how's it going? Glad to have you joining in. And so again, for those of you who are just popping onto the live stream, welcome to the video chat. And if you're brand new, I want to give you an extra special welcome. Of course, always nice to have the regulars tuning back in. I mean, that without you, this wouldn't be possible, but it's always nice to have new people joining as well. And if you have any questions or topics of discussion for today's show, please feel free to type those into our chat window, and I'll do the best I can to help you out over the course of our video chat. One thing that I want to mention, if you haven't already done so, make sure to go back and check out the Total Fitness Bodybuilding podcast this week. I had a special guest joining us. It was Paul Miller, who's one of my Muscle After 40 Blueprint students. And I love featuring Paul on our podcasts, and Paul helps out within our Muscle After 40 coaching program, because he is a product of this whole system. Like, he has gone through the Muscle After 40 Blueprint program and has made an amazing, life-changing fitness transformation at the age of 62. So, again, we went into talking about that during our podcast, but he did not exercise a day in his life up until having a heart attack at 62. And that was his wake-up call to finally turn his act around, get his shite together, so to speak, and make a life-changing fitness transformation. And now at the age of 70, he's in the best shape of his life. And not only is he like being living and breathing the whole total fitness bodybuilding lifestyle, but he's passing on what he's learned to others. And now he actually teaches a seniors fitness group through his local church. They call it Fitness with Friends. And he's passing on what he's learned and helping other seniors to embark on their own health and fitness journey. So it's amazing to see. And again, if you haven't done so already, I would highly recommend you check out that podcast, because there's a lot of nuggets of wisdom in there, right? It's a meaty one, but it's certainly worthwhile listening to. And we really dive in deep into the topic of motivation. And this is something that everyone's going to struggle with from time to time. We're all going to go through ups and downs with our motivation. And we cover, the whole idea behind how to motivate yourself, how to motivate others, and what to do when you're not feeling motivated. Like, how can you keep moving forward even if the motivation is, fluctuating up and down? It's kind of like here today, gone tomorrow, and some days you don't feel like going to the gym and don't feel like following through. What do you do in those situations? And again, it was a really good podcast. So if you haven't done so already, you can check it out, of course, on the YouTube channel. It's also available on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, all the major podcast platforms. So just do a search for Lee Hayward's Total Fitness Bodybuilding Podcast, and you should find that. And of course, you can subscribe through your favorite podcast platform. Now, me personally, I like watching podcasts, watching/listening to them on YouTube. More often than not, that's where I'll tune into them from. But I know a lot of people do enjoy listening to the audio versions. So if that is your preference, then you can certainly do so. But within our podcasts, I usually include some visuals as well. So I would highly recommend checking them out on YouTube so you can get the full experience. But again, I understand if you like to listen to them while you're either at the gym, doing cardio, working out, driving, something like that, it's good to just listen to the audio as well. All right, let's see what else we got here, folks. Art saying, I got to get my motivation back. Well, absolutely, my friend. I'd recommend you check out that podcast. There's some good insights there for sure. So again, I want to dive into some Q&A here. And I know we see a lot of regulars joining us. Do we have any new people joining in? And let me know, where are you tuning in from? Where is everyone tuning in from tonight? And I got to ask this. I was posting this up on our Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook group earlier, a couple days ago. Who's rooting for Mike Tyson tonight now? Because I mean, this is the night, right? All the hype and all the build up and all the piss and vinegar that's been going into this now, right? The Tyson versus Jake Paul fight happening tonight. So, after this video chat, I'm going to be tuning in and seeing what happens. And fingers crossed that this is a legit fight. That's all I have to say. I hope this is a legit fight. And I hope old Mike still got it in him, right? I'm rooting for him, but at the same time, it's kind of hit or miss. Who knows? Because one, is this fight rigged? Now, I don't know. I'm just an armchair athlete here, making my, speculations. This is all hyped up and everything else. Is this rigged? Is this going to be a legit fight? Who knows? Maybe, maybe not. But another thing, if it is a legit fight, does Mike still have it in him? Who knows, right? I'm looking forward to seeing how this turns out. Now I'm like everybody else, we may not agree on politics and religion and a lot of things, but I think we can all agree we want to see Mike Tyson kick Jake Paul's ass. Right? We want to see a KO from Iron Mike. Yeah. But anyway, I'm just interested to see what are your thoughts on this, right? I can hear some other people. Yeah, Tyson, absolutely. I'll be rooting for the old guy. Yeah, absolutely. I am too. I hope he still got it in him. All right, let's see what else we got there. Got a question here. This is from Man from Earth. It says, in the last 3 weeks, I introduced an hour of running per day instead of my moderate intensity cardio. I also significantly increased my calorie intake. I gained 3 kilos. I'm not sure if that's a question or just a statement, but that makes sense because the reason why you gained weight has nothing to do with the running. It has to do with what's here on the last line of your question, or I significantly increased my calorie intake. Hands down, what determines whether you gain weight or lose weight is not so much the exercise you do, it's what you put in your mouth. If you're in a calorie surplus, you're going to gain. If you're in a calorie deficit, you're going to lose. That'll, like, even if you didn't exercise at all, if you're in a calorie surplus, you're going to gain. If you're in calorie deficit, you're going to lose. That's hands down. Now, the exercise is going to help to partition that weight better and also improve your fitness. So if you're doing weight training and you're stimulating muscle and you're eating in a surplus, then chances are you're going to gain primarily lean muscle mass. Vice versa, if you're training and you're in a calorie deficit, then you're going to help to preserve that lean mass while primarily burning stored body fat. And the cardio is just another tool that you can use in your body composition toolbox, but it also is a great tool from a sports performance and athletic performance point of view. So, including some running or higher intensity cardio in there, I think is great, because that's for a lot of guys, that is kind of like the weak link, especially guys in the bodybuilding gym world, right? Like they tend to prioritize weight training and strength training. Cardio is like meh. And then when it comes to stretching and mobility, that's even below cardio. That's even meh, like lowered on the ranking again. Whereas I like to, especially now that I'm getting older, focus on that well-balanced approach to fitness. You want your strength, you want your stamina, you want your flexibility and your mobility, and you want it all together in balance and proportion. And while that might not be the ideal in terms of maximizing either or, I think it's the best at maximizing your overall quality of life for strength, agility, longevity, and just practicality. I mean, obviously, if you're a competitive bodybuilder and you just want to be the biggest Gronk on stage, yeah, of course, you got to prioritize the gym and the strength training side of things. Or if you're a competitive power lifter, a competitive weightlifter, or whatever you are, you got to prioritize the gym and the strength training. If you're a competitive endurance athlete, like you're a marathon runner or an Ironman triathlete or something like that, okay, you got to prioritize the cardio training. But if you're looking for a good, well-rounded fitness that's going to serve you in terms of overall quality of life, health, and longevity, I think we want to incorporate all those aspects, the strength, the cardio, and the flexibility and the mobility, for the well-rounded approach. But you can do a lot of cardio and still gain weight, right? I mean, like you go to any endurance sporting event, like you go to any local marathon or local triathlon or cycling event or whatever, you're going to see a lot of overweight endurance athletes. And a lot of times they make the mistake of thinking because they burn so many calories during their endurance training that they can eat whatever they want. And this is a common thing that I see, because I've gotten involved with the endurance training pretty serious over the last few years, doing some local races and cycling and things like that. And I see a lot of people who, yeah, they burn a ton of calories. They're spending hours upon hours on the bike or running or swimming or doing whatever, and they burn a lot, but then they eat a lot. And very often they eat whatever they want. And they use the fact that they burn up so many calories through exercise to, hey, I can eat what I want. I can go out for fish and chips, or I can go out for burger and fries, or I can go to the bakery and I can have my pastries and my pizza, and I can drink my beers and I can have my soda pops. And no, you can't, as the old adage says, you can't cancel out or you can't outwork a poor diet, right? You can't. So if your main goal is fat loss, hands down, the thing that's going to have the biggest impact on fat loss is your calorie intake. That is the big one right there. I mean, sure, exercise helps. And I would definitely recommend everybody to incorporate exercise, as I mentioned. But if the main goal is losing or gaining weight, the biggest thing that's going to have an impact there is the calories. The exercise will help to partition the weight, and stimulate lean muscle or help to aid with fat burning while maintaining muscle. But whether that weight goes up or down is definitely coming down to the calories in versus calorie out equation. There's no escaping that. All right, man from Earth says, thank you so much. Absolutely. What else we got there? So sorry, there is a limit of characters in every post. There probably is. Yeah. So if you have to make multiple posts, go ahead and do that. That's fine. Let's see what else we got there. AJ is joining in saying, how often do you have these workouts, or sorry, how often do you have these weeks where you don't work out at all? I'm deciding on whether to go to the gym today or just forget it and maybe go tomorrow or just take a break till next week. I cannot remember the last time that I've went a week without exercising. Now, I have gone a week without going to the gym, but I've not gone a week without exercising. And I mean, prime example, like this past summer, we went on a camping trip and I didn't go to the gym because we were out in the woods camping. So there was no gym, but I brought resistance bands with me. We were swimming and hiking and kayaking and paddleboarding and mountain biking. So every day there was physical activity on the menu, but I didn't go to the gym. But as far as like, do I ever have a week where I say, I'm not going to exercise this week? Honestly, no. Right. I mean, I've kind of conditioned myself where exercise is ingrained in who I am. It's almost like, oh, I think I'm not going to get a shower this week. I'm just too lazy. I don't feel like it. I'll wait till next week when I'm really smelly and grubby, and then I think I might get a shower. No, like it ain't going to happen. Right. Same with exercise. Like I do not let myself go that long without exercise. Like I have to exercise. That's ingrained in me. It's part of my identity. It's part of who I am, and it's part of my routine in terms of how I just deal with stress and the challenges of life, right? Like I've kind of got myself wired that that's what I reach for. Like I know some people when they're feeling stress or overwhelmed, they reach for a cigarette or they reach for a bottle or they reach for comfort food or they reach for something like that. I reach for my sneakers and I get outside and I either go for a walk, a bike ride, or I go to the gym, or I move. I change my physical state, and that's what I've got myself wired into. So as far as how often have I had those weeks where I don't work out at all? Honestly, never. That's something that's just not part of who I am anymore. And even thinking back, like over the past 30 plus years that I've been involved with fitness, it's been very rare that I've gone a week without exercise. I mean, I'm sure there must have been sometimes, but it's certainly not common. And in recent years, the answer is never. I mean, now, does that mean that I don't vary the intensity or change things up? Like I'm very flexible with my approach. That's one thing I will admit. I am very flexible. Like there's sometimes I don't feel like going to the gym and lifting weights, so I'll get outside and go for a bike ride. Or I might do something else. I mean, I'll change it up that way. Or when I go, like, let's just say I might have a planned program in place or a planned structured workout. If I'm feeling extra tired or whatever, I'm just not feeling it that day, then I'll adjust the program and I'll do an easier workout instead. Right? I don't have these rigid rules where like, okay, you have to go in there and the schedule is for a high intensity training session today. If I had a crappy night's sleep before, if I'm not feeling good or whatever, and I'm not going to push it hard. Like I let my energy levels dictate the intensity. So on the days that I'm feeling good, those are the days that I'm going to push it. On the days that I'm not feeling good, those are the days I'm going to scale it back. But it's like a dial. right? I turn it up or I turn it down. I never turn it off. And this was actually something that we talked about in the most recent episode of the Total Fitness Bodybuilding podcast. Is a lot of people operate their fitness like an on and off switch. Like, oh, I'm on or I'm off, on and off. You know, like I ask people all the time, like, how are your workouts going? Oh, on and off, boy, on and off. Trying to get back into it again. You know, it never worked out for the past 6 months, but I'm going to try to get back into it again. Try to get on. And this on and off approach, it's, I mean, I don't want to sound negative, but it's really a waste of time, because whatever progress you make when you're on, you're going to lose when you're off. Like, you have to learn how to, instead of like an on and off switch, you're like a dial where you can turn it up or you can turn it back. So like we can scale up the intensity when you're feeling good and you're, you know, all things are lined up and you've got the time, you got the energy and the motivation. You can crank it up, push full steam ahead. And then on those days when you're not feeling it, or you got other responsibilities or other challenges, or you're going through recovery or whatever, you can dial it back, but you never ever turn it off, right? We dial it up or we dial it back, but we never ever turn it off. And that's the way I operate with my fitness. And that's what the way I recommend everybody to try and adopt that mindset. You know, you can scale it up, you can scale it back, but you never ever just turn it off and just say like, that's it, no workouts. All right, what else we got there? Good follow up here from Lee would say something's better than nothing. Absolutely, something is better than nothing. And I keep rehashing this, like good enough and good enough consistently. Strive to be consistently good versus occasionally great. And we don't need to overhaul everything from day one. You just have to be better than you were before. And again, something is better than nothing. So on those days when you're like, I don't want to go to the gym today, I just, bleh, like, you just don't feel like it, put on your sneakers and just go for a walk. Like, simple as that. Like, just get outside and move. And don't even think of it as exercise or training or whatever. Like, just think, I'm getting outside, I'm going to breathe in some fresh air, and I'm just going to use it like active meditation, active recovery. You know, don't worry about like, oh, what's my heart rate and how many calories am I burning, and you know, what's my step count? Like, who gives a shit? Just get outside and walk. Just breathe in the air, enjoy being outside in nature. And that is so therapeutic, not only from a physical point of view, but from a mental and emotional point of view as well. And that's one of my default go-to settings. Is just, hey, when you're not feeling it, get outside and walk. And of course, if the weather's not suitable to get outside and walk, then go do some cardio. Like, I have cardio machines at home. I got an indoor cycling trainer. I've got a rowing machine. If I go to the gym, I'll use the cardio machines there. But have something where you can just move your body, right? It doesn't have to be a structured workout where you're counting your, you know, you're tracking your progress and tracking your intensity. Like, sometimes it's nice to just forget the numbers and just move, just show up and do it. Right? I do that quite a bit. All right, let's see what else. Advice to stop justify skipping a workout. I think we kind of covered that. That kind of ties in nicely with what I was just talking about before. But again, if you want more information about this, or like more insights, you know, to really unpack this, go back and listen to that podcast episode that I mentioned before. It's the very first podcast that's in the playlist. You know, you go to the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel, click on podcast. It's the top one there now. And that would really help in these situations. And I'm glad I did that podcast, because this is such a common issue. Like, some people they're getting tangled up in the weeds of like, oh, what's the best training split, and what's the best set and rep pattern, and what's the best macro count, and what's the best this and that, and you know, what supplements should I take? When quite honestly, the biggest challenge I find with most people is just showing up. Just doing anything at all, right? That's the biggest challenge. It's not how do we optimize it, it's just how do we get our ass through the door. Because I'm going to tell you, the hardest exercise for most people is to walk through the gym door, to push open that door and to walk through. That's probably the hardest exercise that you're going to do in the gym. That's harder than a set of squats to failure, right? Because most people, if you don't walk through the door, there's no chance in hell you're going to do squats or any other exercise. So that is the most critical exercise that you've got to learn to master. You got to learn to get that one, learn to master that no matter what. Just show up, right? Show up without overthinking it. Right? And again, I look at it as in other areas of your life, like with your job. Like, do you constantly debate every morning, like, oh, am I going to go to work today? Oh, I don't think I feel like going to work. I don't think I'm going to go to work today. No, I'm not. And then you don't. I mean, if that's the way you operate at your job, you're not going to have a job for very long because you're going to get fired and they'll find someone else who will show up consistently. So you just do it. Some days you feel motivated to go, some days you don't, but you go anyway, right? And that's the way you have to treat your workouts, right? It's just, this is who you are, this is what you do, and you show up because it's about becoming the best version of yourself, and treat it like that. What else we got there? Art saying, my buddy, God rest his soul, Dave Draper, said, the secret is there is no secret. You have to discover what works best for you, given your goals and your intake of good fats, protein, good carbs, and basic math. There's a lot of truth to that, right? I mean, the big one, no, there is no secret. I know sometimes we'll say this, the secrets or whatever, but it's really, there is no secret. I mean, there's basic principles, but those principles do apply or do vary depending on the individual, their situation, what they're training for, etc. And that's something I want to just touch on. Like, most information that you see online, whether it's on YouTube videos or social media or articles or videos or magazines or books or wherever you're getting your information to, most of it is, generally speaking, good information. Like, now, don't get me wrong, there is some crap out there, but for the most part, I would say the vast majority of fitness and nutrition information is good, solid stuff. The only challenge is who is it applied for? Who is it geared towards? Because if I was giving fitness and nutrition advice for endurance athletes, that's going to be totally different than fitness and nutrition advice for competitive bodybuilders, which is going to be completely different if someone is, and it could be completely different if I was talking to, say, like a 20-year-old who wants to build up and add weight to their frame versus a 50-year-old office worker who wants to trim down and lose weight. So it's not that it's right, wrong, good, or bad. It's like, who is this information applied to? Who is it geared towards? And this is where there can be a lot of confusion because, we could talk about a training program for a young guy who wants to bulk up. That same training program, again, is not going to work for a middle-aged man who wants to trim down. Not going to, the training and nutrition program for an endurance athlete is not going to apply to a power lifter. The training program for a power lifter is not going to apply to a bodybuilder. So it's not right, wrong, good, or bad. It's like, who are they gearing the information for? And does that fit you in your situation, right? That's where you really have to kind of decipher when you're trying to choose who do you follow for fitness advice, because it's not necessarily good or bad, right or wrong. It's, is that applicable to you and your situation? We have a Mitt joining in. Hello, sir. I saw your home dumbbell workout 10 years ago where your dog came in between the workout. Old. I don't know if that's a is that a question, comment, or just making? Oh, I think that's it. Yeah, I have a workout video. I have a lot of workout videos. I mean, I started the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel back in 2006. So what's that bring us up to? 18 years. So I had that channel since 18 years. Yeah. And I have to admit, there was a lot of workout videos from 10 plus years ago. Good stuff. Hopefully you got some value from it. And I do miss my dog. I know that. I remember that video in particular. It was the dog Sasha, because I had two dogs at the time. I had Sasha and Sally, but that particular one, that was Sasha, was my old puppy dog. Yeah. Have David joining in. Welcome to the chat, David. Footsteps upstairs, real as real on here. Okay, good stuff. If you're referring to footsteps on my end, I don't even hear them, but that's probably Harvey running back and forth the hallway up there. What else we got? Nitro. What are your thoughts on vegan protein powder versus whey given dairy allergy? Is 1 gram a pound body weight adequate when on a cut? I'm not a big fan of vegan protein powder myself, but if you want to use it, like if you are allergic to dairy and you cannot consume whey protein, then obviously you want to look into some other alternatives. I have not used any vegan protein powders in recent years, so I can't really comment on them. I mean, I know back in the day I used to use some soy proteins, some different vegetable-based protein powders, which weren't bad. Um, the only one that I really didn't like was was a hemp protein powder. I remember I bought a container of hemp protein, and it tasted and mixed like dirt. like I It was just so gritty and so, I guess, just so full of fiber or whatever, but it just it literally, I mean, if I took a scoop of dirt and mixed it in a glass of water, that's about the best analogy I can give you to what this mixed and tasted like. It was just disgusting, right? So I didn't even, I just threw it in the trash because I was like, man, I don't know way I'm consuming this. But the other proteins, like, again, I have used some soy proteins and I've done different vegetable ones. Some of them you can get them like, it's a combination of probably like pea protein and different vegetable proteins. You could certainly try them and see. I mean, the big thing when it comes to a protein powder, and this is kind of like a practical thing, is do you enjoy it and are you actually going to consume it? Because regardless of how good it is, meaning good in terms of nutritional quality, if you absolutely hate it and it's disgusting to consume, you're not going to consume it, or you're not going to consume it consistently enough to have any major impact. So again, going back to that one that I had, the hemp protein, which I said tasted and mixed like dirt. If that was my protein powder of choice, then I'm not using protein powder. Like, I don't care if that stuff is works like magic. I mean, it's disgusting, and I'm just not going to stomach it. So you have to somewhat enjoy what you're consuming, if you're going to consume it on a regular basis. But I'm sure if you start going out and looking for different protein powders, you can get some good ones nowadays. Again, I'll be totally transparent. I'm not the go-to guy for vegan protein because I don't use vegan protein powders myself. So I'm not even familiar of what the best brands would be to buy. But you could even go to your local supplement shop or start doing some reviews on searching reviews online to see, and just asking, hey, what are your best selling vegan protein powders, and then try it out. I mean, if you go to a supplement store, hopefully they'll even have some sample packs where you could try it and see if you enjoy it before you go and invest in a 5 or 10 pound container of it, which you're going to have to endure for a while. Right? That's what I would probably do. Just start off small, try some sample packs or just small serving packs to see if you actually enjoy it. And then when you do find one that you enjoy, go for it. Another one that you might even be able to look into as well is like egg protein, different types, because it's not all just whey protein. Like, you can get different types of protein powders that are not vegan based as well, right? Egg protein would be a really good one. I think you can even get beef protein powders. Like, there's different kinds of protein powders that you can get. So something to look into. But if you can't consume dairy due to allergies, then obviously you want to look for an alternative. And the best alternative is just natural food, real solid food. If you can get the bulk of your protein through real food, like meat, chicken, fish, eggs, that type of stuff, that will serve you better. And especially if you're on a cut, when I'm trying to cut calories and reduce my body weight, one of my strategies is I try to eat more solid food protein because it's very filling and very satiating. So like when you're eating chicken and meat and fish and eggs and things like that, they fill you up. They give you a lot of eating satiation. Whereas if you drink a protein shake, sure, it's quick and it's convenient and it's cost effective and all that, but it doesn't really give you any eating satiation. Like, if you ate a couple chicken breasts versus had a couple scoops of protein powder mixed in a shaker bottle, you're going to feel fuller and get more eating satiation from the chicken. So that's one of my strategies. When I'm trying to cut calories, I try to eat more solid food and rely less on the supplements, just from an eating satiation point of view. And as far as the grams and then the total intake of protein, the general rule of thumb is you want to consume at least a gram of protein per pound of your ideal goal body weight. So whatever it is that you would like to weigh, shoot for that in terms of grams per day. that would be a benchmark to shoot for. Now, if you go higher than that, there's no problem. Like you can eat more than a gram per goal body weight if you want to. Like if you're extra hungry, I would much rather see you consume extra protein to satiate your hunger and your appetite versus eating extra carbs or fats, because protein is the least likely of all the macronutrients to get stored as body fat, because it has a high thermogenic effect. When you consume protein, it elevates your metabolism. There's a lot of metabolic processes, and it takes a lot of energy for your body to break down and digest protein, especially solid food protein. Now, to break down and digest supplements is not as much, because supplements are easier to digest. But when you're looking at real food, it takes a lot of energy to break that down and digest it. So not only is it satiating, but it's also thermogenic. So it's going to aid with the whole calorie burning process and aid with your whole cutting process and helping you to get leaner and feel more satiated at the same time. All right, what else we have there? Let's see. What is something new about fitness that you've learned recently? Something new about fitness that I've learned recently. You know, there's not a lot that is so much new, but I guess it's just reinventions of, or rehashing or relearning things that have already been around, because there's not a lot of new things in fitness. Like we're the basics of strength training and cardio and nutrition and all that, like the fundamentals have been around for a long time, and I mean they still work. So I can't really say there's anything new, but what are some new things? I'm trying to think here to give you an intelligent answer about this one. Now, one thing it's not new, but I will say that it's certainly been applicable for me and for my coaching students and stuff, and it's, for me, it's relatively new, as in like the last few years new, is the power of sub-maximal effort, and more along the lines of polarized training, especially when it comes to endurance, but it can also apply to your strength training as well, focusing on not always emptying the tank. And this is a kind of a philosophy I use when I'm coaching people, and especially with my one-on-one coaching students. Very often I'm purposely having them hold themselves back. And the phrase that I like to use when we're in the gym training is we want to keep it below red line. And a lot of times, like, people are pushing, we're training in progressive overload fashion, and we're setting personal records week after week after week. And sometimes, like, someone might hit a personal record and they say, oh, that felt good. I think I could do more. I say, oh, that's fine. You think you could do more? Well, let's save that for the next workout, right? We're gonna stop here. We're gonna keep it below red line. And by constantly just holding them back, like holding back the reins, keeping a little bit in reserve, it allows them to recover quicker. It prevents injury. And it also leaves them hungry to come back to the gym for more. And it's amazing when you operate where you're just keeping it below red line, like you're not emptying the tank every single time you go to the gym. You're not training to the point of failure and exhaustion and burnout. You're just keeping it, 8 or 9 out of 10, and you're always staying there. You're never going 10 out of 10 total exhaustion. You're just keeping it below red line. You can keep coming back, and it's amazing the progress you can make week after week after week when you do that. Whereas if you push yourself 10 out of 10 intensity and you're always draining it and then like leaving it all in there, like you're kind of emptying the tank every single time, it's so much easier to run into overtraining and burnout, and of course, the worst of all, injuries. But if you can kind of just learn to control your intensity and operate at a high level, but not 100%, right? Again, that 80-90% range, it's amazing the progress you can make, and keep that going week after week after week. And I've seen this with several of my personal coaching students. We've been working together and making amazing progress, and just seeing the weights progressively going up week after week after week, and consistently, and no injuries, no setbacks, just steady progress. Now, I know it's never going to be nonstop progress forever. I mean, eventually everyone's going to hit a plateau, but you will prolong that growth curve and make much better progress over the long term with much less risk of injury if you operate with that mindset of keeping it below red line and stopping yourself before you drain the tank dry. And, if you are going to do it, like drain the tank, you do it sparingly. And like in the world of strength sports, for example, like a lot of power lifters, if they're going to do a max effort lift, a true max effort lift, they're going to do it on the platform, right? They don't want to do it in the gym where it doesn't count. They're going to do it on the platform in a meet where it actually counts. Same with endurance athletes. Like if you're going to truly push yourself and drain the tank dry and give it 100% effort, you want to do it in a race where it actually counts, not in training where it doesn't really count. Like in training, you want to keep it below red line. But then when you're in that moment, when the competition setting or something like that, okay, sure, that's when you can push it. That's when you can test yourself and try for, empty the tank, go 10 out of 10 intensity. But most of the time, like 99% of the time in your training and stuff like that, you're keeping it below red line. And that's a good mindset to keep for long-term progress. All right, what else we got there? Art saying, thanks. I think you nailed it that we have to make working out as much a part of us as sleeping, eating, etc. Good stuff. Glad you're coming around to that. Absolutely. We have Chris joining us. He says, do some people have faster metabolism than others, or is it all the same? And do spicy foods help boost your metabolism? All right. First off, we do not all have the same metabolism, right? I think that should be a given, but we have individuals are going to have different metabolic rates for numerous reasons. Due to age, hormones, stress levels, activity levels, you name it. Like we do not all burn the same calories. Like we could have two totally different people who burn two totally different amounts of calories. So it's not like, paint everybody with the same brush. Like everybody needs a 2,000 calorie a day diet. Like I know you have these recommended daily allowances and stuff like that on nutritional labels and stuff, but it's a very broad generalization. It's not accurate by any stretch of the imagination. And especially when you're getting into the world of athletics, you will see massive differences. You could have like a 200-pound sedentary person and a 200-pound athlete, and that athlete could burn double or more of the calories that the sedentary person does. So no, everybody does not have the same metabolism. It's going to vary from individual to individual. As far as the spicy foods thing, it may have a marginal effect on calorie burning because, if you eat really hot, spicy food, sometimes you actually break out into a sweat and you can actually feel your temperature rise. So there may be a very slight thermogenic effect to it. But unless you enjoy it, I would not go out of my way to eat spicy food to think that this is going to help me to elevate my metabolism or burn more calories. Because if you enjoy hot sauce and spicy foods, then yeah, go for it. If you're not if that's not you and you absolutely hate spicy food, then don't do it for the slight edge marginal gain of calorie burning you're going to get. You'd be much better off just going for an extra 5-minute walk or something like that. You could probably burn more calories in a 5 or 10-minute walk than you would get from consuming hot, spicy food, and probably no heartburn or digestive issues to go along with it. I like spicy food in moderation, but I have to have my moderation. And I when I was younger, I used to push the limits on this because I remember when in my teenage years and stuff, and I started to experiment with different spices and seasonings and stuff, and I got into it. Like I was challenging myself, like trying to go, I enjoyed that. That was actually pretty good. I'll try to go hotter the next time, or I'll try some different spices, or I'll go more. And I finally reached my limit. I remember one day I was having some hot, spicy Cajun spices or seasoning on my food, and I went overboard with it. And the next day, when I was in the bathroom the next day doing a number 2, that's when I knew it, because my ass was on fire. And man, it was so painful. I'm laughing at it now, but I certainly wasn't laughing about it then. I mean, I was almost in tears just from the pain of having that hot spice coming out the other end. And it's like, whoo, man. So I've learned my limit when it comes to spicy foods. Now, I enjoy a bit of it in moderation, but I mean, I just eat for the flavor. I'm not eating because I'm trying to elevate my metabolism or anything like that. So I think, that's a marginal gain or a marginal boost at best. You want to focus on your overall caloric intake, and overeating spicy foods to try and boost your metabolism ain't going to help. It's calories in, calories out at the end of the day. Right? Spices or no spices, they can't escape the calories in, calories out equation. Let's see what else we got. David's saying he tried vegan powder just for oatmeal. Tasted good, but gone back to 2 sardines for breakfast. All right. Again, this is a response back to the vegan protein powder question earlier, right? I'm sure, like, for those of you who are tuning in now, if you have any recommendations for good quality vegan protein powders, feel free to share in the chat window there in the comment section. Right? I mean, I personally don't use them, so again, I'm not the person to offer suggestions because I don't have any real world experience with that. All right, David's predicting that Mike Tyson, the 30-second knockout, ding ding. Well, we'll see, right? I don't think it's going to be that quick, right? I think they're going to stretch it out and make a show out of it for sure, but who knows, man? Like this is anybody's guess, right? I made a post like on Facebook asking people, who do you think is going to win? And then a bunch of people commented, Netflix is going to win. And I say, absolutely. They're the winners, hands down, right? Regardless of which way this goes, Netflix is cashing in big time, right? The whole world is going to have a Netflix subscription after this one. What else we got there? David's asking, what happened to your hand? I posted videos about this and talked about it. I had carpal tunnel syndrome surgery released on last week. I made a video about it up on the channel. So if you go to the main channel, there's a video posted there talking about the whole operation. I'm not going to rehash it here. All right. See what else we got. Neil's joining in. Neil is a regular to our chat. He says, I noticed that I'm comfortable with the sumo deadlift rather than the conventional. I want to know if there's a strength carryover between the two. If I focus on one of them for a while. You will find that one style feels better than the other. Most people are going to have their preference of deadlift stance. You're either a sumo or conventional. But with that being said, it's still good to train both, especially if you're a more advanced athlete. I would recommend this. And when I say advanced athlete, I want to clarify that. I'm not talking about like a world-class powerlifter or whatever, but like if you're doing deadlifts, you're beyond the beginner newbie phase, right? So once you're into this phase of doing deadlifts on a regular part of your training, then it's good to incorporate different styles of deadlifts. Now, the two basic ones, of course, sumo and conventional, but then there's a lot of other variations that you can use as well, like power rack lockouts. You can do deficit deadlifts where you're either standing on a block or standing on weight plates to increase the range of motion, power rack lockouts to decrease the range of motion, and all kinds of different variations. But one of the key ones, of course, sumo and conventional. And as you get stronger in one, you'll generally find that strength will probably carry over to the other. So you can use this as a complementary exercise, but you'll probably always have a preference. For me personally, I've always been stronger in the conventional. Like I've tried maxing out sumo, I've tried maxing out conventional. I can just pull more with a conventional than I can with a sumo. Now, some people are the complete opposite. And that's why when you go to a powerlifting meet, you will see some guys pull conventional, some guys pull sumo. And it's acceptable. Like you can do either or. It's personal choice, right? Like as long as the weight comes up, it counts in a powerlifting meet. So it's not one is right or wrong, good or bad. It's just what's built for your body type and your personal preference. But as far as the training is concerned, when you get stronger in one, it's generally going to carry over into helping that other variation as well. Right. So in your situation, still getting stronger in the conventional probably help carry over, make you stronger in the sumo, and vice versa. So you could go through different phases where you incorporate, like maybe you go through a 6-week phase of prioritizing the conventional deadlift, then a 6-week phase prioritizing sumo deadlift, or you might want to incorporate them together in the same workout. It's really up to you how you go about structuring it, but there's still benefits to doing both variations for sure. Right, you could even other deadlift variations too, like the trap bar deadlift. That's another good one. Right, that's a different deadlift variation entirely, but it's a good complementary one that will help to carry over and make you stronger in deadlifting in general. All right, we got Zionic 484. Just wanted to send a thank you. You make such a positive impact on so many people. Rest tonight knowing you made a difference, brother. Appreciate it. Thank you much. Appreciate the comment. Appreciate the support. Means a lot. We got Nathan joining in saying, I have 5 months in after 10 years. Was using your videos back 10 years ago. Thank you. Awesome. Good stuff. Appreciate the support. Yeah, I mean, like if you go back, there's a lot of old training videos and stuff. And, I sometimes cringe when I look at myself. Like anybody, if you you look at pictures or videos of yourself from back in the day, I sometimes like cringe. Like, oh, I said that, I did that back then. But you know what? I'm not deleting any of them. I'm keeping them up there because that's who I am. That's where I came from, and no regrets. Right? I wouldn't change a thing. But again, I appreciate the support. Thanks for sharing that. Let's see what else we got. We have Jason joining. Oh, sorry, Jason joining in. Kudos from South Carolina. Welcome. Glad to have you joining us. We have Nourish to Flourish. Doing my after dinner 10 minutes treadmill walk at home now. Watching Big Lee. Hope hand is healing. It is. Thanks. Appreciate it. And after dinner 10-minute treadmill walk. There's power in that. If you don't have time for regular cardio or if you're looking for an extra boost, these little 10-minute blocks, especially after eating, can go a long way. I remember I first heard about the idea of the 10-minute walk from Stan Efferding. He made a YouTube video about it a while back that was very popular. And since then, I've heard a lot of people talking about it, and I've incorporated it myself. Sometimes it was subconsciously, like the first I came about this was unintentional, but back when I was in school, like in college and stuff, I used to go for a walk on my lunch break. And I'd have my lunch and then I'd go for a little walk. And I just did it to break up the day, to get outside, get some fresh air and move around. But it makes you feel so much better versus just sitting on your duff after a meal, especially after a bigger meal. And those little 10-minute walks, this is a great fat burning strategy because it doesn't take much time. Like literally, you can haul on your sneakers, go for a walk up the road for 5 minutes, turn around, walk back. But knowing that you're going to go for a 10-minute walk after a meal, it helps to minimize how much you're going to eat at that meal. Because subconsciously, if you know you're going to go for a walk after eating, you're going to probably stop before you're stuffed. Because just think of like, okay, we got Thanksgiving coming up, or U.S. Thanksgiving. In Canada, we've already had our Thanksgiving, but in U.S. Thanksgiving is coming up. How do you feel after Thanksgiving dinner, right? Like you eat and eat and eat till you can't eat another bite, and then you eat some more, right? So you're ready to burst. You just feel like, oh, I'm so stuffed. I don't want to eat. I don't want to do anything. I just want to lie on the couch and vegetate. Like if you eat that much, you don't feel like going for a walk. But if you know you're going to go for a walk afterwards, you'll probably stop before you're stuffed. So not only is it good from a fat burning and good for the metabolism and controlling blood sugar, but it's a subconscious cue to help control portions as well. So it's a simple little fat burning hack. And if anybody's looking for a quick and easy hack, like something that you can start doing to help aid with fat burning, start going for 10-minute walks after your meals, right? Like after breakfast, go for a 10-minute walk. After lunch, go for a 10-minute walk. After your dinner, go for a 10-minute walk. If you have some cardio equipment at home, you can use that for your 10-minute walk. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be walking. It just move your ass for 10 minutes, whether it's on a treadmill or outside or, if you got a stationary bike or something, but move for 10 minutes of cardio after a meal. And it's amazing how that can help to neutralize and control the blood sugar, aid with the digestion process. And it also, again, will subconsciously make you eat less because you got to move and go for a walk after the meal. But I've utilized it with great success. So again, kudos to you for doing that, and thanks for bringing it up. All right, where are we to now? I lost my spot there. Just give me a second, guys. uh, where was it? Okay, that was there. Nourish to Flourish, talking about doing 10-minute treadmill walk. All right, gotcha. What are your top 5 most important forms of gym etiquette? Show up. It's number 1, because none of this matters if you don't show up to the gym and consistently. So showing up to the gym, number 1. But I believe in the golden rule. Just treat others the way that you want to be treated. Don't try and dominate the gym or be an a-hole when you're in there. Like, just be respectful of everybody, regardless if they're a seasoned, gym enthusiast or they're a beginner. Like, when people are using the machines and stuff like that, like, give them some space. Don't crowd in on them. Or another one that's a pet peeve of mine too. Like, let's just say someone's doing their exercise, or they're having people walk in front of them or walk very close by them while they're doing their exercise. It's just annoying. Like, I try to give people their personal space when they're doing their exercise, especially if someone's in the middle of a lift. Like, I don't want to be walking right in front of them in the mirror while they're in the middle of a lift or something like that. So that's a big one. Just give people their personal space. Put your weights away when you're finished. That's another pet peeve of mine. How often do you see that? Guys will go over and load up the leg press or load up the barbells or load up whatever, and then when they're finished, they just leave it. And then the next person got to go, and the leg press has got a half a dozen plates per side, and they just left it there. Like, I see that, especially in the nighttime. I don't know what it is, like, because the gym that I train at, like, most of the people that go earlier in the day in the morning crowd, like, they tend to have a better gym etiquette. But I find in the night times when you get a lot of the young people coming in there, and they just don't give a shit. Like, they'll go in there and they'll leave their dumbbells on the floor. They leave the weights still on the machines. They leave the barbell still loaded up, and everything is just a mishmash. So, like, if you're strong enough to lift it, you're strong enough to put it away. So that's another gym etiquette thing that I think everybody should get in the habit of putting your freaking weights away when you're finished with them. Wiping down the machines. Like, if you leave a puddle of sweat on the bench, don't leave it that way. Like, go grab a paper towel or something and wipe it down. Right? Just a bit of common courtesy, common etiquette there. What else is there? Make sure that that you're clean when you go to the gym. This is another one I want to, like, there's nothing worse than going to the gym and you're sweating, or you're smelling someone who's sweating, and you get that whiff of body odor and just a stink. Like, if you're going to the gym, like, wear clean clothes, wear a clean t-shirt, clean pants, like, make sure that you do not stink. Like, if you have to, freaking get a shower before you go to the gym. Like, I've done that before. Like, sometimes if I'm feeling a bit grubby or whatever, and I'm like, man, I need to get a shower. I'll get a shower first and then go to the gym afterwards, because I don't want to be in there stinking the place up, or reeking a body odor or whatever. Like, that's just gross. Right? I can't stand it. You're in there working out and someone next to you, like, it's just, oh man. Right? Like, that's a common etiquette too. So yeah, be personal hygiene goes a long way, especially when you're sweating and in that kind of environment. What else? I don't know. Maybe that I wasn't keeping track, but I'm sure there must be at least 5 things that I just said there. So if you have any other personal gym etiquette suggestions, feel free to share them. Okay. Brian's asking, what are your thoughts on Nugenics testosterone booster? Any test boosters that you found work great? I've never used Nugenics. I'm not familiar with it, so I got no thoughts on it. Testosterone boosters, that's a broad category. And is there any test boosters that I've found that work great? Honestly, no. They're in the category of, like, any over-the-counter supplement testosterone booster. It's in the category of, it might give you a marginal gain at best. But if someone legitimately has low testosterone, other than improving your lifestyle habits in general, improving your diet, improving your exercise, improving your sleep habits, avoiding alcohol, avoiding recreational drugs, like all that kind of stuff, losing body fat, getting your weight down to a healthy weight range, like all the obvious stuff that you do to improve your overall health and fitness. Like anything that you do to improve your overall health and fitness will indirectly help to improve your testosterone as well. And vice versa, stuff that you do to deteriorate your health and fitness generally deteriorates your testosterone. So if you gain a bunch of excess body fat, that's going to have a negative impact on your testosterone. If you're staying up late and you're not getting adequate sleep, that's going to negatively impact your testosterone. If you're drinking alcohol, that's going to negatively impact your testosterone. If you're eating processed food, that's negatively going to impact your testosterone. So all that stuff, like let's focus on the fundamentals first. Like this is the key stuff. And this is another pet peeve of mine. Like so many people, their diet is like crap. They're not exercising. They're overweight. They're drinking alcohol. They're like there's almost like a checklist of all the things that you can do to neglect your health. Like, okay, am I overeating? Yes. Am I eating junk food? Yes. Am I staying up late? Yes. Am I drinking alcohol? Yes. Are you going to the gym? No. Right? Like check. Okay, I'm ignoring my health and fitness. And then they say, well, I need to go on testosterone replacement therapy or something like that. Like, why don't we fix all the underlying issues first, right? Like fix the obvious stuff. I mean, I know why people don't, because that takes work and effort. Whereas testosterone replacement therapy, that's a pin or a jab or a medication. Hopefully that's going to band-aid the solution, but it's not. So obviously lifestyle choices, diet, exercise, lifestyle choices, like that is going to have a big impact on improving your health as well as your testosterone in general. Cover that first. And then if you legitimately have low testosterone, then you can look into testosterone and hormone replacement therapy options. And there's options out there that don't involve actual testosterone themselves. Like there are certain medications that you can take to help elevate your own natural testosterone levels. I mean, if you go to a clinic, this is stuff that they will discuss with you, because just because you go to a hormone replacement therapy clinic or an endocrinologist, it doesn't mean that you're automatically going to get put on testosterone replacement therapy. Like I've talked to several guys who are on, other medications that help to improve natural testosterone production, things like HCG and Clomid and different things like that can help to raise your body's natural testosterone production without taking exogenous testosterone. So, that might be an option for people. But as far as going to your soap supplement store or whatever and getting some, super duper mega test booster 2000, at GNC or the Vitamin Shoppy or wherever you go, it's marginal gains at best, right? It really is. If you have legitimate testosterone issues, I would definitely recommend talking with your family doctor or checking with a hormone replacement therapy clinic. And if anybody needs some help with that, like I've got some videos that talk about this up on the channel. In fact, if you do a search for Lee Hayward TRT or Lee Hayward HRT, there's a video that I made that goes into detail talking about this. We have Robin joining in, saying, she's responding to Nitro. She says, I use KOS organic superfood plant protein. It has a good taste and texture. I use the unflavored so I can add it to anything. The ingredients are clean and no bad additives. Cool. Thanks, Robin. I appreciate you for sharing that. KOS organic superfood plant protein. All right. I've never used that myself, but thank you for the suggestion. And the big one, it has a good taste and texture. I mentioned this before when I was addressing your question earlier. That is one of the key things. I mean, obviously you want good nutritional profile and you want a good quality protein, but if it doesn't taste good and you're not going to drink it, or it's disgusting and then you're not going to consume it. So that has to be high on the priority ranking as well. You have to enjoy what it is you're doing, right? If you don't enjoy it, you're not going to consume it. Let's see what else we have there. All right, we're going to get ready and clue this up shortly because we're already past the hour mark there. And Art says, have a great weekend, Coach, and I certainly will. You too, my friend. Any other questions there? Dave's got a question saying, when I work my legs, i.e. squats, leg press, etc., I seem to get sore in the hamstrings, inner thighs, and glutes, but never feel my quads. Any advice? Yeah. First off, that's quite common. A lot of people will feel the hamstrings when you squat and do leg presses. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but you can manipulate your foot positions to target more quads or more hamstrings. So the leg press is an easy one for this. When you're doing your leg presses, like you look at the foot plate of the leg press, if you place your feet high and wide on the foot plate, that's going to emphasize more hamstrings and hips and glutes. If you place your feet lower and closer together on the foot plate, that's going to emphasize more quadriceps. So you can play around with different positions, different foot positions. But generally speaking, the closer and the lower you place your feet on the foot plate, more you're going to emphasize the quadriceps. Same with squats. Like if you do a wider stance squat, you're going to tend to emphasize more hamstrings and more glutes. If you do a closer stance squat, another one, if you elevate your heels when you squat and do really deep squats, you're going to tend to emphasize more of the quadriceps. One exercise that I like doing, it's so simple, but it's really good for the quads, is just a slant board squat. And I actually made a YouTube short showing this one, but I mean, you could elevate your heels, or you can actually get a slant board. We have slant boards at our gym. Let's see if I can find a picture of it, just showing what I'm talking about here. It's so simple, but it works really well. Where is it to? And you don't even need a lot of weight. Like you could literally just do this with like body weight. Second, now I'm just going to share my screen here. Hopefully this comes through. Share screen. Just give me a second there now. So hopefully you can see that. Oh, that's a bit small. I'm going to see if I can make it bigger. A little bit. But up there in the top corner, you see this angled slant board, right? And it's just a way for you to squat, and it really places a lot of emphasis on the quadriceps. So obviously your feet are going to be very close together when you do slant board squats, and you squat really deep. Now, you could make this up yourself, or you just do something to elevate your heels, and you kind of get the same benefit from it. But that's what a slant board is. Like we have this at our gym. It's just a wooden platform with some grip tape on it. But I mean, you could make up something similar to that. I don't even use weight. I just use body weight, or maybe I'd hold a dumbbell or something like in that picture there, and that works fine. But just do high repetitions and use it like a pre-exhaust. So you could do that prior to your squats and prior to your leg presses to pre-exhaust the quads to get more activation there. Another suggestion too is just to do some leg extensions. So you could do the slant board squats with body weight. You could do some few sets of leg extensions to pre-exhaust the quadriceps, get those quads firing, and then do your squats and leg presses afterwards. And ideally, if you can, do them with a closer and a stance, and like with the leg press close and narrow or narrow and low on the foot plate, so that you engage more quadriceps, and you should get more muscle activation there. But with that being said, we want to still train both, right? So this is something that you can cycle through and with your training. Like you may want to go through a phase where, okay, I'm going to do a quad dominant training phase for a while, where I'm going to really prioritize quads by doing the narrow deep squats, and I'm going to do the narrow low foot position leg presses and really emphasize the quads for a while. And then you might want to, for your next training block, go back to emphasizing the hamstrings again. So doing what you're doing now, which does obviously emphasize the hamstrings and the glutes more, because you want it both. Like it's not like you want to just train the quads and ignore the hamstrings, or train the hamstrings and ignore the quads. Like you want a well-balanced development throughout the entire leg. So it's good to incorporate this. But if you are feeling the quads are lagging behind and not getting the stimulation that you feel, then these are some tips that will certainly help to get more muscle engagement in those quads. All right, what else we got there? I'm going to clue it up shortly here. Now, I know there's still, holy smokes, there's still several questions coming through, but I'll answer a couple more here before we go. Great questions. Good stuff. Yep, they are good questions. JE, is there a curl variation that focuses on bicep peak? All bicep curls are going to work on the bicep peak. we can argue like there are some exercises may be better than others. One that you can focus on, hammer curls will work more of the brachialis muscle and help to develop more of the peak. So if you're not currently doing hammer curls, then that's something you can add to your bicep curl repertoire. Another one that's a unique exercise that's good for developing the peak, it's doing an overhead bicep curl. Like most bicep curl exercises, we're doing them where we're curling, with the upper arm hanging down and you're curling your arm up. An overhead is like using a lat pull down, either with a single handle attachment or a regular lat pull down attachment, and doing overhead curls, almost like this. So this is one that I used to use, like so you can either do a single handle attachment curl from overhead, or you can use both arms and curl the handle behind your head. So literally elbows up and curl down, right? Curl down like that. And that's a unique variation that helps to engage more bicep peak. And it's going to hit the biceps from a totally different position, because most of the time, like I would say 90+% of your bicep exercises, if not all of them, are done with your upper arms hanging straight down. So once you get the upper arms above and curl this way, it provides a unique muscle stimulation and just hits the biceps from a different angle. But it's a hard variation. Like you'll be very weak. You're not going to be able to curl as much in that overhead position as you would in a regular standing curl position, but you will feel that deep contraction in the biceps, and there's no cheating. Like you can't use swing or momentum or back or leg drive or anything like that. So it's just a pure bicep contraction, and it's really good for hitting the peak. So that's one that I've incorporated sometimes in the past as well. I think I have that one listed in the Blast Your Biceps program, right? That's one that I've mentioned there. But give that a try, the overhead cable curl, right? That's a good bicep curl variation, and one that's bound to give you some unique muscle stimulation, because very few people ever train their biceps in that position. Let's see. See what else we have there. Got Bruce joining in. Bruce is a member of our Muscle After 40 program. He's saying partial tendon tears, specifically in the hand. Any experience or input? And I know exactly what he's talking about, because he mentioned this on our VIP group recently. He strained his finger, and they're thinking that he might have torn a tendon in his finger at work. So strained it at work, grabbing some pipe or something. I can't remember exactly what it was he grabbed, but he grabbed something heavy at work and heard a pop in his finger. And there's potentially a tendon tear. Maybe it's a full tendon or partial tendon. Who knows? If you still have mobility in the finger and that, then probably it's a partial tear. But that's something that really needs to be looked at by a specialist, because anytime when you damage tendons and ligaments, I mean, they may heal up on their own, and hopefully they do, but it's not going to be a quick recovery. Like muscle fibers tend to recover quick. So like if you tore a muscle or pulled a muscle, within the matter of a few weeks or so, like that could be back be back to normal again, depending on the degree of the tear. But muscle fiber tears very often will fully heal. Tendon and ligament, not so much. That's kind of, it may need to be surgically repaired, or it may need a long time to heal up on its own, depending on the degree. Now, if it's a partial tear, it may heal up on its own with time. If there was a full tear, then a lot of times they actually have to go in and do surgery. But that's something you really need to check with a medical professional, and probably get an x-ray or scan of the hand to see what exactly you've got done there, to see how much damage is done and if there's actually surgery required to fix it. Right? That's the downside of serious tears like that. Like pulls and strains and stuff like that, they usually heal up on their own. But when you're looking at tendons and ligaments, if they get damaged, that might require some surgery, and that's the downside to that. But again, I could be totally off base, because I mean I'm not I'm not looking at you through an x-ray or anything like that. I mean I'm just giving you some my suggestions and feedback that I know of, but you really need to check with your doctor on that one and to see how bad the damage is, and take it from there. But I know in Bruce's case, this is something that's for several weeks now. It's been bothering him. So obviously, it's quite a serious injury there. Right? It's not just a little nagging pull that give it a week of rest and it'll feel better again. It's already been lingering on now for a few weeks. So I mean, I wish you all the best with it, but you really need to get that checked out by a doctor or specialist. All right, let's see what else we got there. All right, one more question, then we're going to clue it up here. This one's from Mr. Eagle-Eye John. How much protein per serving should one have, please? A good goal to shoot for is to take your ideal protein intake, which I recommend 1 gram of protein per pound of your ideal body weight per day. So that means your goal body weight. So just to keep numbers simple, if you want to weigh 200 pounds, shoot for 200 grams of protein. If you want to weigh 175 pounds, shoot for 175 grams of protein. Like whatever it is that you want to weigh, shoot for that in protein, and then space that out over the course of at least 4 meals per day. If you have it over more meals, there's nothing wrong with that, but at least 4. That would be a good benchmark. So to keep things simple, if you're shooting for 200 grams of protein per day, have 4 meals with 50 grams of protein. That would be a good guideline to shoot for. Now, a lot of times people wonder, well, can you have too much protein per meal? And for years, this was a kind of like a common myth in the fitness industry saying like, oh, don't eat any more than 30 grams of protein per meal, because if you go more than 30 grams, it's not going to be digested and it's just going to evaporate like a fart in the wind. No, if you eat it, it's going to get digested. It's just going to take longer. So like if you eat 30 grams of protein, it's going to get digested. If you eat 60 grams of protein, it's going to get digested. If you eat 100 grams of protein, it's going to get digested. It's just that the more you eat, especially the more you eat in a single serving, the longer it's going to take for that to break down. So if you ate a big, massive meal, let's say you had 100 grams of protein in a meal, that's going to sit in your stomach for several hours, digesting slowly over the course of those several hours. So it's not optimal from a digestion point of view, but it's still going to get digested. It's not like it's going to go to waste. Your body still is going to break it down and digest it and utilize it. It's just going to take a lot longer. Whereas if you have smaller, more frequent meals of protein, and this applies with your other macronutrients as well, but if you have smaller, more frequent meals, it's a lot easier for your body to digest it, break it down, and utilize it. And it also helps to keep your energy and blood sugar and your amino acids and everything stable, because it's not sitting in your gut for prolonged periods of time. It's being able to be broken down and utilized more quickly. So that's why I do recommend more frequent meals per day versus fewer bigger meals per day. More frequent, smaller meals tend to be easier on the gut, easier on your digestion, and it also makes it easier to consume adequate protein, because this is one of the drawbacks for people who follow like intermittent fasting, and they say like, oh, I only eat 1 meal a day. Okay, well, if you only eat 1 meal a day and you're supposed to consume, let's just say 200 grams of protein, are you literally going to eat 200 grams of protein in a single meal? Like very few people will. And very few people would even eat 100 grams of protein in a meal. So like how in the world are you going to get your ideal protein targets if you're only eating once or twice a day or something like that? It's virtually impossible. I mean, it's, or very, very unlikely, put it that way. So that's why I'm a big advocate of smaller, more frequent meals spaced out throughout the day. At least 4, you could go more than that if you want, but at least 4. Second, I sneeze. Gesundheit. God bless. All right. At least 4 meals a day, and more is better. Right. All right, guys. I got me sneeze out. I'm good to go. All right, I'm going to get ready and clue it up. Well, thanks again now for tuning in to the Total Fitness Bodybuilding video chats. I always enjoy doing these chats with you every Friday. And if you would like to elaborate on anything that we discussed during today's chat, feel free to reach out to me. You can message me through Facebook. You can send me an email. I got my contact information down below in the show notes below this video chat. And if you would like some help with your own training, nutrition, or anything, you want some help with a customized fitness and nutrition program to help you with building muscle, losing fat, and getting in your best shape, feel free to reach out to me. We can certainly discuss a customized training and nutrition plan that's right for you. All right, guys, I'm going to clue it up. I'm going to get ready and watch the Tyson fight. Fingers crossed that Mr. Iron Mike Tyson is going to have a KO tonight and put that young whippersnapper in his place, but we will wait and see. All right, we'll talk about it and grumble about it next week on the video chat. Have yourself a good one, and I'll talk to you next week. Take care. Over and out.